What in the world is going on with these strange radio signals that are coming up out of the ice in Antarctica? So recently, the ANITA project down in Antarctica has detected these strange anomalous radio signals that are coming up out of the ice in Antarctica, and they have no idea what in the world these are supposed to be. Now, the ANITA project, as some of you may recall, is actually down in Antarctica studying neutrinos that are supposed to be coming from space. Well, some years ago now, the ANITA project and the IceCube project, they kind of work in conjunction together. They're both down there for neutrino research. We're detecting neutrinos coming up out of the ground without a source. And this was very controversial for some time because there were reports that this was indicative of a parallel universe running in reverse time. Now, this was scoffed at by the traditional media for a long time until there was actually a scientific peer-reviewed paper that came out basically stating the same thing, that yes, neutrinos were coming up out of the ground without a source, and this could be indicative of a parallel universe running in reverse time. So now what's going on with these radio signals? Well, since this time, the ANITA project and the IceCube project have been running tests of the neutrinos that are coming up out of the ground without a source. They're trying to find out more of what's going on with these things. But now they have also been discovering these strange radio signals, and they're not sure what they are. According to the scientists, and I'll just read this really quick here, the radio waves that we detected were at really steep angles, like 30 degrees below the surface of the ice. According to these scientists, the team's calculations showed that for the radio pulse to be detected, it must have had to pass through 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers of rock. Remember, the ice, and it's a very large ice pack, is above a landmass. However, after traveling through the rock, it should have interacted and been absorbed, leaving it undetectable. Just like, trying to send radio signals through a mountain or something like that. Think of like trying to get a good cell phone signal, while you're in a massive superstructure and you have some issues like that. Well, kind of same thing here. If there are radio signals coming up out of the ground 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers down, as it was passing through there, the rock should have just blocked it at some point, and like they said. So the other night we had researcher and author Brad Olsen on a special broadcast of Edge of the Rabbit Hole on Connecting the Universe. I'll go ahead and link that below. He's done a ton of research on Antarctica. In fact, he's actually been there, and this is what we discussed on the show regarding these radio signals. Just showed up in my feed, I think today or yesterday, about these strange radio signals that are coming up out of the ice there in Antarctica. What do you think's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm covering that in my new book, Secrets of Antarctica, The Untold History of the Ice Continent. And this is another one of those really strange anomalies that's coming out of Antarctica, because not only are these radio waves emitting from Antarctica, and just got to scratch your head and ask yourself, how is that possible? But also cosmic rays, which normally only hit a planet, but they also are coming out of Antarctica. And I think this gives some credibility to the hole in the ice theory near the South Pole, that there is this massive hole several miles across. Brian S., who is one of the whistleblowers of Linda Moulton Howe, I've vetted him, as has Linda Moulton Howe, and his credentials are impeccable, and Linda passed on his contact information. We've had a very long conversation, and he saw the hole in the ice. He was flying on a rescue mission to Davis Station, and it was a matter of life and death. So they defied the no-fly orders. They flew over this area, which is closed off for a weather modification, weather testing station, an air sample station. So there's supposed to be some kind of air sampling station out there. They did not see any structure whatsoever, but they did see the hole, everyone on the flight. And they dropped off the person at the Davis base. Then when they were on the way back, they say, hey, let's get another closer look. And over the radio comes, don't fly over the hole in the ice. And then when they got down to land at the South Pole Station, the team came out and read them the riot act. They went back to McMurdo, same thing. You didn't see what you just saw, kind of.
Again, the link is here so you can watch that whole thing. So what do I think is going on there? Well, yes, this certainly could be indicative of a parallel universe running in reverse time. I do liken that to the symbolism of the Ouroboros, or oldest alchemical symbol, and I believe the ancients were privy to this knowledge of this sort of thing, because you can find the two tracks within the Ouroboros, the top side and the underside, and if each are running at a different direction, then they meet where the head is latching onto the tail. That's indicative of the Big Bang. So this is a symbol of the very nature of our universe here in a microcosm here on Earth. Because everything is really, think of it as like those Russian dolls. You basically get bigger and bigger and bigger. When I talk about the connected universe, I talk about how we are connected to each other. Right now, we are connecting across this video. Each of us are connected to the planet is connected to the solar system to the galaxy to the universe to, well, what's beyond that? That's beyond the scope of this today. But I believe that this can give us some real fascinating insight into the nature of the universe. And is that why there is so much other anomalous activity going on in Antarctica? When we start talking about UFO sightings, or like Brad was saying about that huge gaping hole in the ground, what is actually going on in there? Is this what Admiral Byrd flew into during Operation Highjump? And it is a fascinating tale. And while people kind of scoff at the idea, well, he's talking about vegetation and all this sort of stuff within the cave that ends up leading to this crystalline city, well, there is a ton of geothermal heating there under the ice in Antarctica, which is why you find huge lakes under the ice there that are some of the largest lakes in the world, but they're heated by the geothermal heating. And you find all kinds of interesting, strange life forms that are down there within these depths. So yes, you could have this geothermal heating that is creating an environment for life forms, whether it's extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials, other beings that are actually living beside us. There could even be something interdimensional in nature. We're going to keep an eye on all of this that is going on within Antarctica. Stay tuned. Until next time, time really exists.